In the wild, or on a battlefield, the ground beneath your feet is never just scenery. Terrain shapes everything. What you can see, how easily you can move, and whether you stay hidden or exposed. Throughout military history, experienced soldiers understood that terrain could become a powerful ally if used correctly. During wartime patrols, particularly in the rugged landscapes of the 20th century, those who knew how to read the land often had a significant advantage over those who ignored it. Learning to use terrain effectively begins with developing awareness of the landscape around you. Hills, valleys, rocks, vegetation and shadows all influence how visible you are and how safely you can move. When people move carelessly through open ground or stand in obvious positions, they become easy to detect. But when they use the terrain thoughtfully, they can reduce their visibility and move with far greater security. One of the first lessons involves understanding elevation. High ground has always been valuable for observation. Standing at a higher point allows you to see farther across the landscape and detect movement earlier. This advantage can help identify potential threats or opportunities before they become immediate problems. Experienced scouts avoided walking along the skyline whenever possible. Instead, they moved slightly below the crest of a hill. This position allowed them to observe what lay ahead while keeping their body hidden from distant view. By staying just below the ridgeline, they gained visibility without exposing themselves. Another important terrain principle involves using natural cover. Rather than walking straight across open terrain, skilled outdoorsmen move between these protective features. Before leaving one piece of cover, they identified the next safe location ahead. Once they were ready, they moved quickly and directly to that next point. This method reduced the amount of time spent exposed in open spaces. You know, even a few seconds less in the open can make a significant difference when visibility matters. Terrain also provides natural concealment. Tall grass, bushes, uneven ground, and dense vegetation can all conceal movement if used properly. Moving along the edge of these features helps break up the human outline and makes detection much harder. Another valuable terrain technique involves using low ground for movement. This technique was frequently used by soldiers moving through exposed areas. Instead of crossing the highest and most obvious routes, they followed the natural contours of the land. Terrain also influences safe approach angles. Approaching a position directly often exposes movement for the longest time. Skilled individuals sometimes chose indirect paths that used terrain features to shield their approach. For example, moving along the side of a hill instead of straight up the slope can hide movement from observers on the opposite side. Likewise, approaching from the shadowed side of terrain features reduces visibility. The key idea is simple. Let the land block the view of anyone who might be watching. Energy management is another overlooked advantage of terrain awareness. Steep climbs, thick vegetation, and unstable ground require more effort to cross. Experienced travelers study the terrain before moving and choose routes that conserve energy whenever possible. Walking along gentle slopes rather than climbing directly uphill can make long journeys far less exhausting. Following natural pathways created by animals or water flow can also reduce effort. Conserving energy allows you to travel farther and remain alert for longer periods. Observation is the final piece of terrain advantage. Before entering unfamiliar ground, experienced scouts paused to study the area carefully. They looked for signs of movement, unusual patterns, or areas that might conceal danger. This habit of observation allowed them to plan safer routes and avoid obvious mistakes. Even a short pause to study the terrain could reveal details that were easy to miss while moving quickly. Using terrain effectively is not about memorizing complicated strategies. It's really about developing a habit of awareness. When you start paying attention to elevation, cover, concealment, and natural movement routes, the landscape begins to offer opportunities that were previously invisible. The soldiers who learned these lessons during wartime discovered that the ground itself could become a powerful ally. Those who ignored the terrain often found themselves exposed and vulnerable. The wilderness still rewards those who study the land carefully. Hills, shadows, vegetation, and natural barriers continue to shape movement and visibility just as they always have. If you value practical outdoor knowledge, survival skills, and the timeless fieldcraft developed through real-world experience, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who appreciates the lessons that history continues to teach.